The first use case you think about blockchain is payments, right? So that's the first thing you want to do, is show that you can secure a payment mechanism, just like Visa, MasterCard, but much more secure, without middlemen, take away the fees, offers economies of scale. So the more people use it, the cheaper it gets. The way we view the future of value in the long term, 3 to 5 to 10 years, we view layer 1 blockchains will essentially become like the new republics. These will be the new mechanisms where all the value is going to proliferate to. The future, there'll be the layer 1 blockchain, there will be the mining market, there'll be the dApps, and there'll be tokens. So the lower you get in the stack, the lower risk you have, but the lower rewards. The highest risk reward will be on the layer 1 blockchain, because that's where all the value will flow up. But it's highest value, highest risk. We view layer 1 blockchains, which is Bitcoin, Syscoin, Ethereum, as court systems. They need to be combative to the external forces that we don't control, even in the software world. In the real world, like inflation, hyperinflation, wars, these systems need to be secure from that. And this is why we view Bitcoin as the gold standard for security and decentralization. What else does the world need? What else does the world cherish when you have something like Bitcoin? How can we extend that to something else where we can take advantage to build real world utility? This is where Ethereum comes in. For me, Ethereum is a gold standard for flexibility or general computation. We're trying to stick to the gold standards we know the world's going to cherish and develop on, and we put those two concepts together. And this is what Syscoin is.
What's up, people? Hold on. It's nighttime. I gotta put my nighttime theme on. In case you're not familiar with who I am
that Hotep Jesus dude. That Hotep Jesus dude.
Hotep to the family. Welcome everyone. Shout out to our sponsor, Syscoin, the Medici family that supports Hotep Jesus. We appreciate you. Make sure you guys check out the Syscoin project. This stream is sponsored by Syscoin. We gotta talk background noise. Yeah, it's this fan on. It'll turn off in a second. Thank you for the heads up, Reaction PR. I'm so sorry, guys. The fan will turn off in a second. But I have a wonderful presentation lined up for you today. We're going to talk about Hollywood. And, while we wait for the fan to turn off, let me go ahead and get my screen together, because I would like to just play or I have some visuals available here for you. So let's get the Little Mermaid visual up here on the boards. I got to play this clip. How could we not play that clip? So let's put this on the screen. Let's put that here. We're going to talk about the Little Mermaid. I got to play this clip. Looks like CNN ran this story. Hopefully I don't have any. Actually, you know what? I could play it straight from Halle Bailey, because I saw it on Halle Bailey's. On her Instagram, so I can probably play this straight. Yeah, here it is. It's right here on her Instagram, and this was quite disturbing for me. We got a lot to talk about tonight. Oh my God. So let me go ahead and put this on your screen. We're gonna just start off with the Little Mermaid. Why not, right? So let me go ahead and put that on your screen. Give me just a moment here. Here we go. So this is CNN. CNN has a story. It's reads, videos of young black girls reacting to Little Mermaid trailer goes viral. And I'm going to go ahead and we're going to put that on your screen here. I'll adjust it. Hold on. Let me adjust this so we can all watch together. I saw this earlier this morning. I follow Halle Bailey. I love Halle Bailey. I think she's a wonderful and talented individual. So let's go ahead and play this. Hold on, I don't want to get the music in there. The music's going to get copyright hit. I just want to play the tail end of this right here. Here's what I want to play, I think.
She's black.
She's black. Oh my God. Yeah, I don't want to play it. But it's basically a bunch of, Mama, she looks just like me. She's black. This is moms are taping their daughter's reaction to seeing a black Little Mermaid. Right? So now I hate to be a damn skeptic and a contrarian, but when I first saw this, I think the first tip off was the first little black girl, the dark skinned one. She looks directly in the camera. She knows she's being recorded, obviously. I'm sure the other girls know they're being recorded. And it looks like performance art to me. It looks like the mothers have put their daughters up to, and sort of prepared them for a performance and say, hey, look, I'm about to show you the Little Mermaid. She's black. Let's see your reaction. And the girls pretty much know to get into character. Now, I could be wrong. I could be completely wrong. It could be 100% organic. And if I'm wrong, I'll fully accept being wrong. But it doesn't matter if I'm right. If it doesn't, and it doesn't matter if I'm wrong. It's quite disturbing that we, talking about black folks, are so elated to see ourselves on the screen. Now, if I were to sit here and say that I'm exempt from having these emotions at some point in my life, I would be a liar. I, too, was under the spell of pseudo-black pride, pseudo-pro-blackness, or whatever you want to call it. Where you're like, oh, I want to see more black characters on TV. I want to see more black characters in movies. I, too, was under that spell until I woke up and understood what really matters in the world. When we think about Hollywood and race, I think of Bollywood. You don't got Indian people asking Hollywood to cast black or cast Indian characters. No, they produce their own movies. Africans, they produce their own movies. There's, I get my hair done by an African lady. When I go into her shop, she's playing African Hollywood material. She's not playing Hollywood. I don't see Hollywood in there. They're playing either it's some African Christian stuff or it's some African sitcom, whatever. But they are producing their own content. They're not waiting for the white man or Hollywood to cast them in some role. Now let's talk about why Halle Bailey was selected. First of all, she was selected. This is going to be a controversial take. Number one, because she was light skinned. She's light enough to be racially ambiguous. Now, I could be, again, that's just one of those wild takes I threw out there where I could be completely wrong. And if I'm wrong, I'll take that. But I think the real reason that she was selected, outside of being a diversity hire, and we're going to talk about why she's a diversity hire, but is because she can sing. She's an absolute phenomenal performer. She has a beautiful voice. And I don't think there's very many people that can pull off her performance of those notes. She also has this innocence about her, which I think will come through in the character of Ariel. With that being said, let's talk about her being a diversity hire. Why is she a diversity hire? Well, she's a diversity hire because black folks spend a lot of money on entertainment. Spends a lot of money on entertainment. They know the blockbuster that was Black Panther. Absolute blockbuster. They got black folks to come out in droves for that movie. The Hoteps couldn't get black folks to dress up in traditional African garb to save our lives. But that Hollywood screen made people dress up as King Jaffe Joe. They put on their Hotep attire. Now, all of a sudden, everybody was wearing Hotep attire to go see Black Panther for a fictitious character. Completely fictitious character. They put it on for that. They put on for Hollywood. See, Hollywood doesn't really care about diversity. Hollywood just wants your money. Hollywood just wants your attention. They want your conversation. They want your energy. Now, I was on Simpcast the other day with Chrissy Mayer and the gals. And they pulled up an IMDb that showed a black prince. So I could be wrong, once again. But at one point, I believe there was a black prince casted for this Little Mermaid role. However, I don't know what happened, but in the official version that's going to be released, it is a white prince. And we often see this theme where we have black woman with the white man. Black woman, white man. And some people would call this white supremacy and all this other stuff, whatever. I call it, actually, I don't have a term for it, but it seems more like we're just not going to cast black men in any positions of power. Right? The best we'll do, we'll give you Black Panther straight out this comic book to steal your money. But they're not going to have a black man as royalty. Oh, no. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? They've run from that since Michael Jackson released Remember the Time. It's just the facts of the matter. Just the facts of the matter. So we're going to see the little swirl maid. The little swirl maid is what we're going to see here. And that's often, so I was talking about this earlier in my IG live. You go to my Instagram, you can see the IG live we did before this stream. And Raider Nation brought up the fact that Quinn is basically a punk. Quinn from the Star Wars series. There's 3 series, I believe he said it. And he was a punk in all of them. The black man's a punk. They're casting men as a whole and black men as punks in movies. And they're making women the masculine. They're making women the heroes. They're replacing men with women. Okay. Now, what else can I say about the Little Mermaid? So we went over. Oh, okay. Yes, I do believe that the Little Mermaid should be white. We need to stop blackwashing white characters. Simply what I believe. Create new stories. Take old stories. I mean, technically, The Lion King was an adaptation, I believe, of an African folktale. And they turned it into whatever they did. But we have stories. We have folk tales. We have folklore. Come up with something new. Make movies that have black characters from something completely new. This idea that we need to take James Bond and make him black. We need to take the Little Mermaid and make her black. Spider-Man and make him black. Is it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's You know, it's a good way for progressives to act like the country's making progress as far as racial relations are concerned. The only way you're going to make progress with racial relations is to decrease the amount of socialism in this country. If you want to help black people decrease the amount of socialism that exists in this country, eliminate it. Eliminate socialist policies and black people will flourish in this country. Sonny Johnson always talks about this. She was just on with earlier with Canon Hotep. Kill the communism. Kill the communism to help the black community. But that's not exactly what they want. As Sonny Johnson also always says, they say that they are the party of the poor. And as the party of the poor, they can't be the party of the poor if people aren't poor. So they are actually in the business to make sure that they keep black people poor, keep the lower class lower. So it's not in their best interest to do the real things that actually help so-called minorities or black people, people of color, or whatever political correct term we're supposed to use for this demographic. Instead, what they do is they give you pseudo progress. They'll put your likeness in the movie and milk it. They'll milk your likeness. They'll milk your likeness. So they'll take your struggle, put it on the screen, and then milk it. It's sort of like it's advanced modern slavery. Advanced modern slavery. Where you sort of volunteer to be used. You take your likeness, throw it up on the screen. You go, oh, wow, it's a black Little Mermaid. I feel better about myself. Yeah, what about your bank account? What about your employment? What about your skills? What about your socioeconomic status? Is your boss black? Is your black boss an owner? Or is he the white man's employee? Or the Chinese man's employee? Or the Indian man's employee? Or the Pakistani man's employee? Or the Hispanic man's employee? Is he a boss? As Damon Dash talks about much. Is he a boss or is he a worker? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. These are the questions we have to ask ourselves. Hollywood and race unraveled. Let's go to the second topic. The second topic comes from one of my handlers, Taylor. Shout out to Taylor. Appreciate you, bro. And he asked me, he said, Hotep, I'd love for you to talk about for example, Samuel L. Jackson. Who doesn't love Samuel L. Jackson? Gotta love the guy. Phenomenal actor. Majority of his movies are great. We love it. But then he comes out as like this raging leftist and it's like, oh, MAGA bad, Trump bad, Republicans bad, vote or die, or whatever it is he's saying. I'm not even paying attention to whatever he's saying. But I get what Taylor's saying, right? Like all these actors are coming out and they seem to be completely left wing. Totally left wing. Right? And it's absurd. Hold on, my camera's doing some weird shit. They got me glowing. It only does this at night. I'm gonna have to get a different setting for nighttime. Whatever. I'm not even gonna. Hold on. Let me see. I might have to change a setting in the camera. Whatever. Fuck it. I'll fix it. Or maybe I can. There we go. A little bit of lighting adjustment. I'll read the super chats at the end. Thank you for the people who super chat. Thank you to Ryan Pugh who sent me a Cash App earlier. I appreciate you. You people are amazing. Maybe if I turn this one down. I'm sorry. I'm just adjusting lighting. This is just going to give me OCD. If I don't do something there we go. I have to adjust the lighting. Okay, much better. This side's a little dark, but that's fine. We'll deal with this. At least we got rid of the halo. So he says, why are all these actors and actresses coming out and they're left wing, so on and so forth? Well, there's several reasons for this. Number one, their job depends on it. They're basically owned by leftists. Let's look at what happened with Gina Carano. Basically, all right, the fan's off now. Basically, Gina Carano has been, I guess, blackballed from Hollywood is the right term. Completely blackballed. The handlers in Hollywood are pushing a leftist, which is basically a socialist communist agenda. I mean, Hollywood, we got to be honest with you, Hollywood TV, most of it is just a propaganda tool for communism. Call a spade a spade. That's just what it is, what it is. It's just a propaganda arm. Communists are great propagandists. And the media actually plays a role in this. So because Samuel L. Jackson, I don't think Samuel Jackson is too worried about his bank account. This guy's made a huge bag in Hollywood, worked a ton over his career. But I did want to put that out there as the first point, that their bag depends on being left wing. You never hear anybody come out and support Trump and, you know, have a blockbuster movie. No, they're usually kicked out. They're usually bullied. Let's talk about Letitia Wright. When Letitia Wright spoke out against the vaccine, Letitia Wright spoke out against the vaccine, and the online community bullied her. The left wing bullied her. I'm wondering what's going to happen with the new Black Panther movie, as we talked about earlier on our IG Live with Cannon Hotep and Raider Nation. And this is the same people who, push these anti-bully campaigns for children, et cetera, but they themselves are humongous bullies. They practice intimidation. Intimidation is one of the tenets of communism. It's one of the tenets of Trotskyism, Stalinism. Intimidation is completely a part of their doctrine. Violence is definitely a part of their doctrine, part of their ideology. So when you get out of line, you can potentially expect some bullying. If the bullying don't work, well, violence is next. So Letitia Wright pull back some of her comments. We saw that happen with Macy Gray. Macy Gray said something about the gender. She spoke very frankly, looked like she was speaking from her heart. And she retracted her statements as her album was being released. So the left is wholly in control of entertainment culture. If you're dealing with entertainment culture, you're dealing with Democrats, you're dealing with leftism, you're dealing with socialism and communism. Okay. Now, why is a guy like Samuel Jackson, who isn't beholden to Hollywood for the bag, because he's already gotten the bag, why is he pushing leftist policies? I'm going to tell you why. Because the guy's schedule is way too busy to be thoroughly educated. I believe that many black people live in a bubble. Many black folks, their education is in a bubble. They live in a pro-black, progressive educational bubble, meaning the type of material that they study, for example, James Baldwin, W.E.B. Du Bois, they'll study Martin Luther King Jr., maybe even some Booker T. Washington. But you'll have lesser of them study the work of, let's say, Noble Drew Ali or Marcus Garvey. You have fewer of them reading this type of material. Then there's what we can call white material. I wouldn't call it white material, but it's based around European history. And I would say majority of people, regardless of race, have very little knowledge of European history. And in order to understand America, you have to understand Europe and specifically Eastern Europe. What we normally are educated on is Western Europe, Great Britain, a little bit of Germany, a little France, a little Italy. Go a little bit east and things get very interesting. Let's look at Poland. Let's look at Ukraine. Let's look at Russia. This is where history gets really, really interesting. And people don't see that part. I am lucky enough to have a very diverse community. And some time back, I asked, my audience, how can I learn more about communism? And they sent me a ton of material, and I've been reading ever since. So I study a lot of European history. I wrote a book on U.S. history. The Patriot Report, Unmasking the Conspiracy of Money and War. Chapter 1 of this book shows you how the money powers were controlling the crowns of Europe. I went and did the research on that. I cited the sources. I went and I did a deep dive on central banking in that same book. Did a report on it. It's only about 2 years of research, but I put it together and I published it because I wanted people to read it. There are things about U.S. history that all people need to be privy to. There are things about European history that all people need to be privy to. There are things about economics that everyone needs to be privy to. I've been able to see both sides of the coin. I've studied the Black history. I've studied the African history. I've studied the Hotep history. But I've also been able to study the work of lesser known Black intellectuals like Manning Johnson, Thomas Sowell, Walter E. Williams. I've read their work, purchased the books, I listened to the lectures, and I studied. A gentleman like Thomas Sowell, two instances I can think of, and we'll talk about Woman King after I'm done with this. Thomas Sowell, I suggested this reading to someone I know. And within an hour, they gave me a phone call and they said this literature is garbage. At which point I gave up. I said, all right, it's garbage. I'm not going to convince you to read anything. Now, what I know is that the programming, the conditioning, and the brainwashing of the Black mind is so strong that when we hear stories that are contrary to all white men are racist, contrary to Black people were slaves and were descendants of slaves, people are very resistant to that because, well, the Black identity has been built around struggle. So when you have a guy like Walter Williams, I'm actually going to pull up a Instagram DM with another one of my cronies, and I'm going to tell you exactly what he said when we were having a little bit of discourse in regards to just politics in general. So he said, I'm going to read this paragraph here. I'm not going to show it to you because I'd like to keep this person's name private. But he said, I don't know. He responded to like something I posted, probably pro-Trump. He says, come on, man. Biden supporters aren't those Trump apologists. Trump can rob a bank and they would say he thought it was his money. Biden is held accountable at every level. How about both them niggas too old? And my response was, now, you know, Biden got dementia. Of course, they're both old, but we can clearly see that Biden is not okay. Okay. He said, we all know that. And the other is a disgusting human who has normalized terrible behavior. I think the cognitive dissonance displayed by the Republicans is what James Baldwin spoke of. Now, remember I told you about James Baldwin. These people are disciples of James Baldwin. What James Baldwin spoke of. America's innocence, after all, it does to humans all over the world. Now, I'd like to stop right there. I just did a presentation earlier that showed you that America is a colony for the money men to create a balance of power throughout the world. I'm not going to go into that. We did that earlier. He said now both sides are the extremes and are effing ridiculous. But bro, the Republicans make up everything to protect this useful idiot until they can't anymore. DeSantis should walk into the White House in 2024, but Trump will eat him too. We ain't letting Joe Biden slide at all. He's old, too old, but I ain't voting for that idiot. And I responded, Trump 24, bring back our economy. I don't care about, he's a terrible human being and he says stuff. I don't care. I don't care. You know what I care about? What does my stock portfolio look like? What do these gas prices look like? Because that affects my family. What Trump says does not affect my family. I don't care. I don't care who he's banging, who he likes, who he doesn't like, how he tweets. No. Reflect in my bank account. Reflect in the economy what you can do. So he says he effed the economy up. I don't know how he came up with that. He said when he didn't treat the pandemic like a cold and shut down the country. Now he thinks Trump shut down the country. At that point, I'm like, I can't argue with this individual because we all know Trump wasn't the one who shut down the country. Federal government doesn't have the power to shut down the country. Only states can shut down states. We know California, New York, and other states shut down. Some states were open, like Texas and Florida. He did that. Look at the country that Democratic presidents inherit compared to what Republican presidents. I'm like, what? The country you inherit? I guess I'm not going to touch that. We can go into all the terrible Democratic presidents that we've had and compare them to Republican presidents. We can go down the line, but we're not going to do that right now because we are not trying to keep this presentation focused, and I want to get to the point. He said, Democrats bring it back and Republicans deregulate and destroy it again. So I said, you want regulation? Because if he says Republicans deregulate, I'm like, that sounds like a good thing to me. We don't want regulations. Regulations is what holds the lower class back. He said, deregulation sounds good. You and I know there's gaps in knowledge for average American people, average American and people who understand how to cheat the system. Now I've become fiscally responsible and financially literate, and I'll be okay. But that's because I'm creating a new normal for who comes after me. But if there is a certain greed that always hurts the vulnerable the most, 2008 now, to the poor feel it. Now he's bringing up 2008. 2008 is exactly what I was talking about earlier in my presentation when we're dealing with central banking. It has very little to do with politics and everything to do with central banking. And the precedent from Maryland versus McCullough. We just did a presentation on this earlier. He said, you grew up in an affluent environment, so your starting point is different from mine. I did grow up in an affluent environment. He's absolutely true. These systems prey on the underserved. And he's right. These systems do prey on the underserved. And it's that regulation that he's talking about is what's preying on the poor. He said, therefore, deregulations are needed. These people are mad rich with regulation. He's right. That's exactly what's happening. People are getting rich with regulation. So I just responded and I said, you need more Walter Williams in your life. And this is the point I wanted to get to. He said, nah, man, he and Soul are not my cup of tea. They do the enemy's work. Now, by enemies, I'm assuming he's talking about white folks. And I think it's a big mistake for black folks to think that white folks are their sworn enemy. I don't think that's true. It's much more intelligent to say that as black people, all the other races are our enemies. You can't just say white people are your sworn enemy. I don't think that's possible. I don't think that's true. I think it was AstroTurf to look that way, but I just don't see it that way. They neutralize smart brothers to look down on poor people. I said, you ain't really dove into his work if you believe that. Give me some citations to back up your point. He said, for what reason do you say ish like this? Even when black youth gangs target white strangers on the streets and spew out racial hatred as they batter them and rob them, mayors, police chiefs, and the media tiptoe around their racism, and many in the media either don't cover these stories or leave out the race and racism involved. It's complex, and the system they allowed him to be a part of created this environment. And then he brings up Candace Owens and what she said about George Floyd. But this sentence here from Walter Williams, where he says, even when black youth gangs target white strangers on the streets and spew out racial hatred as they batter them and rob them, mayors, police chiefs, and the media tiptoe around their racism, and many in the media either don't cover these stories or leave out the race and racism involved. Is that not true? Is that not true? Is Walter Williams at fault for pointing out the truth? I don't see that as Walter Williams apologizing for instances of white people being racist. I don't see it that way. I see him pointing out an agenda, a specific agenda by the powers that be to divide this nation, to divide black versus white. Because why wouldn't they cover it equally? Why wouldn't they cover and say, look, we saw this recently. Black kid murdered a bunch of people, and CNN acted like it didn't happen. This was right around the time when the Queen died last week. The media act like it didn't happen. We can even say the same thing happened when that Democrat got arrested for murder last week in Nevada. Robert Tell. Did the media cover that extensively? But if he was a Republican, oh my God, it would have been on the news cycle around the clock. Why can't we point out hypocrisy from the media? And why can't we start to surmise why they do this? We need to take a hard, cold look at race. There's a great book by Thomas Sowell called Race and Intellectuals. I wish I had it on me right now. But there's a chapter in there that talks about how basically two German factions were divided. And it looks exactly like how the powers that be divide black and white. Looks exactly like it. One day I'm going to have to go ahead and pull that chapter out, read that chapter to you guys. Because it's very eye-opening. The one story I do remember is from Walter Williams, where he talks about taxi cab licenses. He's doing a study on taxi cab licenses, and he says it's very expensive in New York and it's cheaper in DC. And there's a lot of black cab drivers in DC, not a lot of black cab drivers in New York. So he's interviewing a black cab driver in DC, and he's asking him, hey, isn't it great that the license is cheaper here because it allows people to make an income with the cabs, blah, 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 blah. The quality of cabbing was a lot higher because of competition. And the black guy goes, no, these foreigners keep coming in and taking our jobs. So is this thing about race? Or is this thing about scarcity of resources? That's the first lesson taught by Thomas Sowell in basic economics. Economics is the exchange of scarce goods and resources. And the word scarce is the key word, he says. Scarce. Which means somebody ain't going to get as much as the next. So we're going to be competing for these resources. Now, either you're prepared to compete or you're not. The leftists don't want you to compete. They want you to be fed by their hand. The socialists don't want you to compete because you put them out of business if they allowed you to compete. So is this really about race, or is this really the fact that after slavery, concessions were made to black folks and white folks were poor in the South, beaten after the war, disheveled, and they watched the government give favoritism to one group of people and not the other? Obviously, jealousy and envy is going to set in. Do we have to talk about the Democratic presidents? Do we have to talk about them and what they've done? So, getting back to my point about Hollywood actors and why they shill for the left. They're not privy to this information, and even when they are resistant to it. They are not objective enough to really consume the information and say, is there a point to be made here? No, it's immediately, oh, this is wrong, and he's a white apologist, and white people are our enemies. It's just programming. It's just conditioning. And I know it because I broke the conditioning. I know it because I was under the same spell. And I know the power you get when you break that spell. And I know the amount of information that floods to you when you break that spell. And I know how much understanding you get of this world when you break that spell. Somebody asked me this morning, what book you reading? I'm reading a book that's banned. I'm reading a book that if I mentioned it, black progressives would lose their mind. They'd probably call me some sort of extremist. They'd probably try to get me expelled from the internet if they knew the type of material I read. But I read all types of material. Don't care what it is. I want the information. I want to know what happened at one point in time, and I'm going to the primary sources to find out about it. Or the people who are secondary sources who looked at the primary sources. Show me what the primary sources say. I want to read it. I want to know the truth. I want to know the truth. And the more you dive, the closer you get to the truth, the more you realize we've been lied to. When you read Renegade History, the United States by Thaddeus Russell, you start to realize how much we've been lied to based upon primary sources, based upon real research. We've been lied to. Black folks in America have been given a program of victimhood, a program of struggle, not a program of triumph or a program of power. They've given us a carefully curated archetype. Slave, struggling, beat down by the white man. That's how you come into this world. We tell our children, oh, you got to try harder than the white people because this day country, you got to try 10 times harder. That's what we tell our children. Right? I tell my children life come easy if you just be consistent. That's what I tell them. I tell them life is easy if you're consistent. Can't nobody compete with you. The only competition you got is yourself. So I tell my children, keep your nose clean, you won't have no problems. That's what I tell my children. But they brainwash us. This is why I'm very patient with black folks. I'm very, very patient because I came from that same mentality. And I ask everybody to be patient with black folks too, because you got to understand that progressive school system has trained us to think like slaves. It's trained us to think like slaves. Think about what we learn about our history. You ask a black person, name an African kingdom. They can't name one. Maybe after Woman King come out, they'll be able to name one. Can't name one. Tell us the history of black folks prior to slavery. I can't tell you what black folks was doing on the earth before slavery. In the black mind of America, history starts at slavery. Black history starts at slavery. Before that, we was in chicken huts or whatever the fuck we were doing. In their minds, they don't know what we were doing. They couldn't tell you. Couldn't name a name. Couldn't name a city. Couldn't name a country. Couldn't name an empire. But they could tell you we were slaves. They could tell you the white man pulled the dogs on us. They could tell you about Birmingham, Alabama. They could tell you about Selma. They could tell you about fire hoses. They could tell you about Martin Luther King. They could tell you about Rosa Parks. We could spit that stuff out all day long. Black folks in this country have been thoroughly conditioned. Thoroughly. Now, the one thing, when you're dealing with people who have been thoroughly conditioned and haven't been conditioned with the ability to think objectively, when you provide evidence contrary to whatever it is they believe, you will see an explosion of cognitive dissonance. Just happens to be a symptom of the conditioning. Cognitive dissonance is a symptom of progressive brainwashing. It's just the facts of the matter. So when you look at somebody like Samuel Jackson, he could fall under one of these categories. Now, there's another category that these people may fall under. It's called being busy. Now, once upon a time, I worked with a startup, and our startup had Curtis 50 Cent Jackson as an investor. And when I worked at this startup, I worked long hours. Okay. Sun up to sundown. You know, I was up by 6 a.m. and I was home at 2 a.m. So you can calculate how many hours of sleep I got. 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. I was running this. Well, during the week was more hours. The weekend was less hours, but still working. Okay. So this is what was going on. But what I realized was I went from an individual who had time to check Twitter and stay up to date and read books and be privy to what's going on to when I had this job, I was completely detached from the world. I couldn't keep up with the news. In fact, at the time I had a blog and I had to hire somebody to run my blog for me. And I bought her a laptop to run my blog for me because I couldn't keep up with it. You dig me? So this is another thing that these Hollywood people suffer from. They're way too busy to study. They're way too busy to really look at the facts. They're way too busy to look at the facts surrounding the pandemic. They're way too busy to look at the facts surrounding politics. And they're way too busy to look at the facts surrounding history. Then you factor in the bubble that they live in. These people live in a bubble where everyone around them thinks a certain way. Mass formation psychosis, I think, is what they call it these days. I thought it was called groupthink, but whatever. So everybody, there go that damn fan again. So everybody is thinking the same. This is how everybody's thinking. So what this is called peer pressure. You are pressured to believe what the group believes. Because if you don't believe what the group believes, bullying could ensue. You could be ostracized. Opportunities don't come the same, etc., etc., etc. These are just the facts of the matter. These are just the facts of the matter. So basically, that's the gist of what's going on with the Hollywood archetype. So to summarize that section, and we'll go to Woman King next. Individual is highly uninformed, stuck in an educational bubble. They are never going to see soul. They're never going to see Walter Williams and his work. And if they do, they will be resistant to it based upon conditioning. These are the facts. And if they do get through all of that, they don't have time. They just simply don't have the time. And if they get through all of that, now they have to resist bullying, ostracization, and the potential to be blackballed from their line of work, what they love to do. So it's much easier to just go along to get along. It's safer. 40 Laws of Power tells you, in so many words, hide your power levels. Think as you wish, but behave like others. Is exactly straight out of 40 Laws of Power. And this is what people operate by. Do you think that all these Hollywood people didn't go in that voting booth and hit Trump? You think these entertainers and music didn't go hit that Trump button? Oh my God. NFL players, soccer players, baseball players, basketball players. You don't think they was voting for Trump? They keep that stuff behind closed doors. They do that behind the curtain. They're not going to do that in front of their friends because they know what that means. They know what that means. But they know, as many of them know. Many of them are privy to this information. Many of them are privy to the history. But you will never know it. Very few people are going to be brave and come out like Gina Carano. Very few people. Very, very few people. Just how it is. Let's go to the next subject matter. Woman King. Now this is funny. This is just funny. I'm gonna just for the people who don't know what I'm talking about. It's this here. Woman King is Viola Davis is gonna be the premier actress in this movie, and somebody says it's the gladiator of our time. And you know what? Frankly, I don't doubt this is going to be a great movie. I think Hollywood is absolutely, great at making theater. They've perfected it. Some of the greatest witchcraft ever. I might actually watch this movie someday and enjoy it because I love violence. I just don't like violence when it's women. It's kind of like corny to me. I don't know. The only one that was kind of believable was Colombiana, but usually the stuff that just isn't believable. Like, I'm not believing that Viola Davis is kicking somebody's ass doing karate. That's just not believable to me. It's Viola Davis. You can think about that however you want. But anyway, let's talk about the problems I have with the movie. The problems I have with the movie is, first of all, the title, Woman King. Woman King. There's a title of royalty for women. It's called the Queen. Why didn't they just call it Warrior Queen? Because the powers that be, would like to replace men with women. This is the attack on masculinity manifesting itself in the Hollywood agenda once again. Once again. Once again. I'm sorry for the static. Hold on. Yes, this is disrespectful to the black man. I totally agree. It's definitely disrespectful to the black man. So they call it Woman King. Now, what other agenda does this tie into? What other agenda does it tie into? Woman King. When you start confusing genders, what does that sound like to you? Huh? Because to me, it's giving me T vibes. It's giving me the T vibes in the rainbow. And in the rainbow, it's giving me T vibes. That's the vibes I'm getting. Let's move on. Let's dive into something a little bit deeper. Just a little bit. Now, this movie is based upon the Dahomey tribe. These Dahomies. Dahomey tribe is a coastal tribe. Now, this coastal tribe, being that they're a coastal tribe, means that they're going to be in constant conflict. They're going to be in constant conflict because invading nations are going to hit the coast first. And because of that, they practice something called slave trade. And mostly their slave trade began because of the need for slaves in the West Indies, the Caribbean. They call them the West Indies, but it's the Caribbean, whatever you want to call it. Jamaica, Haiti, Bahamas, Trinidad and Tobago, Dominica, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, all these different islands, right? It's starting to pop up with sugar plantations, cotton, etc., etc. Sugarcane was big money. So because of the need of slaves in the West Indies, we started having this thing called a transatlantic slave trade. And I talked about this on Joe Rogan, where they talk about, slaves coming to America. I'm like, no, they was going to the Caribbean. That's where they was going. And that's because where the current was going. And they were going there because the natives in these islands were either fleeing, resisting, or dying off due to exposure to diseases. But many of them fled. In fact, you had a massive self-pogrom. Women and men were committing suicide by the millions, or I would say by the thousands, just to be somewhat accurate. Don't put the number on it, but they in mass, they were committing suicide. In fact, you had women who were taking their babies and drowning their babies so their babies didn't have to be subjected to the chattel slavery that was coming, that was reported by and proliferated by the Spanish and the Portuguese and the Dutch East Indian Company and the Dutch West Indian Company. Okay. So the Dahomey tribe, being a warring tribe, warring with different, tribes or whatever, Amazon women, people, whatever they want to call them, are in heavily, I want to say they were like one of the main sources of slaves. They were conquering other tribes, and through conquering other tribes, they were enslaving these people and they were sold off. And according to the little bit of research I did, they were sold off mainly for guns so they can keep their war going and their fight with other tribes and other nations, etc., etc. So there was a need for guns and apparently other resources. And that's when the slave trade really started to boom, and the Dahomey tribe really started to get involved in the slave trade. Why am I bringing that up? Well, the funny thing is, like I said before, I'm not one to ask Hollywood to put my likeness in anything. However, we have asked Hollywood to give us some black royalty. Give us some black African kingdoms. Tell me a story of greatness. And Hollywood goes, oh, you want a story of greatness? Coming right up. First of all, I'm going to give you one with women. We're not going to show strong men on the screen. No, that's out. Strong women is in. We're not going to give you strong men. We're going to give you a warring female tribe. That's the story we're going to give you. Not only that, we're going to give you the ones that sold your black ass into slavery. We're going to give you the one that sold your black ass to the white man. That's the story we're going to give you. Here, you want an empire? How about the one that sold you niggas to us? Huh? Rounded y'all up and sold y'all to us. That's the story we're going to give you. And they might not even tell you that. They might not even tell you that in the movie. I'm wondering, I'm very interested to see. I might go see it just to see how much history they actually include in this thing. Or is this just a feel-good story of women kicking ass? I'm very interested to see. Very, very interested to see. So they're not going to give you a real empire. They're going to make sure it's your slave traders. And it's a story of women. Hollywood is slick like that. Hollywood is really, really that slick. You said you wanted it, right? Well, here you go. Slave traders. People who sold you to the white man. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and get into super chats and the chat. Y'all still talking about my fan in here? Somebody said 50 Cent is short as F. No, he's not. 50 Cent's like 6'2" or 6'4", I want to say. He's not a small man at all. I don't know who told you that. Yeah. All right, let's go into super chats. AD $10 super chat. He said Italians got the fire department, Irish got the police department. Should African Americans get an industry like those people did? Something enough people can go into, say the medical field, for example. Yeah, I agree with that. We got to find something. For right now, it's entertainment industry. I don't think being in entertainment industry is bad per se, but you know, when your music is, you know, promoting a defunct lifestyle, it's probably not the best option. Halle movie star, he said that glow is an miracle. Hotep Jesus is truly the digital messiah. Oh man, Halle movie star. I love the sense of humor there. The glow is the last dragon, and who's the master? Who's the master? Show enough. Yeah, that's my movie. That came on a little while back. Really, really, really dope. A couple of years ago, I think I watched that. I think I made the kids watch it too. Art Dog 499 super chat. Thank you. He said people who live in or stay in a bubble follow the identity and truth of that bubble, and are not capable of accepting anything outside of it. Yeah, I was speaking to somebody recently, and he said the reason why he was intrigued with me was because I didn't fit in any one box. He said, you know, you can't just say Hotep Jesus is one thing. I'm so many things. And it's because I don't live in a bubble. I live in many different spaces. I study many different things. I have many different beliefs, and some of my beliefs contradict each other completely. Chad Lemoyne said one of the worst plots is deliberate scarcity of resources by convincing people to not be productive. Word. Every person's quality of life improves with each other, with each other. Person building their own creative vision. Facts. Shout out to Chad. Shout out to Chad. He's absolutely right. David Zanthata, $5 super chat. If y'all got other questions, go ahead, super chat them. Otherwise, I might pick out some good ones out of the chat. But in summary, stop putting fucking black people in white roles. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Don't expect anything intelligent to come from entertainers. When I think about entertainers, I don't consider their political opinions to be valid. I completely ignore them because I completely ignore 90% of people's political opinions because I'm like, they have not read what I read. They don't read as much as I read. So I'm already analyzing people based upon the conversation they have and go, what did you read? Okay. Did you read the counter to that? Like, for example, I was a huge fan of Rasputin. I read a book that was telling me all the bad things about Rasputin. I want to know the bad. I want to know the good. I want to know both sides of everything. If you read the black supremacy books, but you haven't read the white supremacy books, I can't consider your conversation to be valid. I can't consider your opinions to be valid because you haven't seen both sides of the coin. I want to read the pro-black literature and I want to read the pro-white literature. And then I'm going to come up to my own conclusion based upon that data. It's just how I operate. If you got socialist material and capitalist material, I'm reading both of them. I want to see what the socialists got to say. I want to see what the capitalists got to say. And then I'm going to find what I think is my truth. And I'm still looking for more data. Most people aren't doing that, so I can't take their thoughts and opinions into consideration. The only thing that I can take into consideration is their feelings and emotions, because those are important. But as far as their opinions, I'm like, what have you read? When was the last time you read? You ain't read none? All right, well, go sit down and have a seat and let me lecture you on a few things that you need to know. All right. It's just how I think. And it's not an elitist mentality. It's just that this is what I do. I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. Meanwhile, maybe you play the drums, maybe you rap, whatever it is. But when it's time for me to learn about rap, I'm going to come ask you, yo, teach me rap. I'm not going to tell you how to rap. I'm not going to tell you how to play drums. But if this is what I do for a living, you need to have a seat and learn. So that's why I don't take into consideration, or I don't take seriously, for example, when somebody like Samuel Jackson comes out as a leftist. I go, oh, obviously he's a leftist. Like, I'd be surprised if he wasn't. I expect him to be, but I'm still going to enjoy his movies, but I'm not going to listen to what he has to say. I'm just not. Also, another point in regards to a gentleman like Samuel L. Jackson, he was born in a different time. You know, when you start dealing with some of these people that are boomers and from a different time, their view of race is completely different from ours because they lived in a time where race relations were different. Race relations aren't as nice as they are now. It's called a spade a spade. Race relations when I was a child aren't as nice as they are now. White people are very cordial. When I was younger, it was cordial, but it wasn't quite the same. And I'm sure for my mama and the people before her, it was different. I'm sure. And that's not to say that there weren't pockets of white people and black people getting along and having best friends and partying together and dancing together and drinking together and smoking together, because that definitely happened in private, in the underground, at the saloon, you know, in the basement of the speakeasy. These things happened. But today, race relations are different. White people and black people view each other differently now than they did then. So when I take a guy like Samuel Jackson, I can't fault him because he's thinking based upon his lived experience. And I'm not as old as him. I don't know his lived experience. I didn't live his experience. So I can't judge him for however he feels. All I know is that he's inaccurate and he's not up to date. I remember growing up and being called the N-word and having to deal with blatant racism in my face. I don't let that affect me today. I love white people. White people are fucking amazing. Without white people, I wouldn't be here right now. Without white people, I wouldn't be here right now. I'm going to say it again. Without white people, I wouldn't be here right now. If I had to rely just on black people, Hotep Nation wouldn't have been built. If we had to rely just on black people, Hotep Nation wouldn't have been built. Or it took a lot longer. Everybody had the opportunity to come to Hotep Jesus' channel and contribute whatever they wanted. All races, all genders, all Asians, all ages, all nations had an opportunity to say, yo, I'll volunteer for this. You know who volunteered to help Hotep Nation? It wasn't black folks. White folks said, yo, I want to help you do this. I want to help you do that. Here's what I can do to help. So no, I'm not going to view race relations like everybody else because I'm seeing something different in my lived experience. That's not to say I'm going to take away from somebody else's lived experience who's lived something completely different, because their lived experience is their reality. What I'm asking is, don't judge me based upon my lived experience and say I'm a sellout and I'm a coon or whatever it is word that you're using, because you don't know my life. You don't know me. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know where I'm going. You don't know what I'm doing. You don't know what I'm thinking. You don't know what I'm reading. You don't know what I'm writing. You don't know who I'm talking to. You don't know who I'm connected to. That's what we got to understand. Woman King. Psh. T movement is in there. The female replacing male movement is there. Emasculating men, all in there. The demasculinization agenda is all in there. These is just the truths. These is just the truths. Pop Hotep said 50 Cent is creating a real movie of African royalty. Yeah, we waiting on it. I'm ready to support. Sacred Smoke said Hotep's multidimensional in thought. That's why he stands out, because people think one-dimensionally. This is true. This is true. People think one-dimensionally. I think about everything. You know, I've gotten this quite often, not so much recently, but I've gotten this a lot in the past where they're like, Hotep, you're just a contrarian. And I'm like, I'm just a contrarian. Yeah, you just, whatever, everybody's saying, you just figure out a way to disagree with it. And I go, well, first of all, yeah, I do try to figure out a way to disagree with it, but I'm not a contrarian. Like, I don't do it. I don't speak for the purpose to be a contrarian. I take information, I look at it, and I go, what's right about this and what's wrong about this? This is called critical thinking. You see, to people who don't know what critical thinking looks like being a contrarian. That's what it looks like. But when I look at information, I go, what's right about this and what's wrong about this? What do I like about it? What do I don't like about it? I do that with my own thoughts. Is that the right thought to have? Or should I not have that thought? This is what makes a beautiful mind. I'm teaching people how to have a beautiful mind. People say, Hotep, you're so intelligent. I'm not intelligent. I'm objective. I contradict my own thoughts. This is the key to genius. This is the key to intelligence. This is the key to consciousness. When somebody says, hey, this event happened, I go, did it happen that way? Are you sure that event took place? That event took place just like they said? Are you sure? Or are there details missing? So am I a contrarian? No, I'm not a contrarian. If something pops up on my timeline, I ask myself, first thing I go, is this real? Do I disagree with this? Do I agree with it? And you know what? A lot of times, when I usually check myself is when I agree with something. If I agree with something, I go, hold up. Let's filter it a bit. Let's play around with that thought. Let's challenge that thought. Let me make sure that if I do believe something, I've scrubbed it really well before I wholeheartedly believe in it. That's my thing. One thing stopping blacks from improving forward, shit like Planned Parenthood across the street from our old high school sends the wrong message. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. It's not exactly Planned Parenthood. It's the money behind Planned Parenthood, the politics, the people behind Planned Parenthood, the people that prop that institution up is the problem. Because you can go in Planned Parenthood and get prenatal care. You can get prenatal care. It's 5% of their services, according to their own data. The last time I checked, 95% of it has to deal with abortion, but that's another story for another day. But you can go in there for those services, just that everybody uses their abortion services. And we know that why that is and who it was created by. Margaret Sanger, Negro Extermination Project, Buffalo Soldier says the only entertainer whose opinion I respect is Lupe Fiasco. Yeah, I respect Lupe Fiasco. And we had a debate in regards to the vaccine. And you know what I believe? I believe it's trolling. He's just an intelligent individual that likes to challenge people. Lupe Fiasco's trolling. Trust me. And Kendall Art, $10 super chat. Thank you. He said, check out those links that I dropped in the chat. Fighting alongside white people against white people as we speak. Definitely group project. Yo, let's talk about that. Let's unpack that. I be telling black folks, I'm like, y'all don't see it's a white civil war going out here, a white cold civil war out here, and you sticking your nose in the white man's business? It's Democrats versus Republicans, and black folks is picking sides. And not only are they picking sides, they picking the wrong side. Not only are they picking sides, they're picking the wrong side. They're picking the side that enslaved them. They're picking the side that segregated them. They're picking the side that destroyed their communities. Huh? It would make more sense to not pick a side. We had Jan 6 happen. Black folks said, oh my God, look at these people. I'm like, hold up. You just said this was a system of white supremacy and a group of white folks stood up against this system of white supremacy. But yet here you are criticizing white folks because the TV box told you Orange Man bad. But you ain't talked to none of these people. Matter of fact, it's a kid that went with his camera and went to a MAGA rally, and he wanted to see what it'd be like. He said he was terrified. And after he left, he said a bunch of new friends. He said he was surprised at how welcoming it was. Now, let me ask you a question. You put on a Black Lives Matter shirt. You go to a Trump rally. You're safe. You're safe. I'm telling you right now, you're safe. If I put on a MAGA hat and I go to a Black Lives Matter rally, I am not safe. Now, you tell me which party is the party of fascism. Try it. I want you to try. I want everybody, if you brave enough, put on a MAGA hat and go to a Black Lives Matter rally. Go to a Democratic rally and see what happened. Police gonna escort you out or something. You're not safe, bro. Especially if Antifa's around, you're not safe. You can go to, ain't nothing but a bunch of old white folks at the MAGA rallies. They just having a good old time, loving their country. You come in with your Black Lives Matter, you ain't gonna have no problems. Ain't nobody gonna attack you. You will get your ass beat, you wear a MAGA hat. I know I got attacked in New York City. And I'm not talking about the girl. We got attacked because we had MAGA hats on in New York City. They radicalized these people. So again, coming back to the subject matter of the super chatter, white folks against white folks. You're absolutely right. White folks are in the middle of a cold civil war, left versus right. And black folks have chosen the wrong side. I would much rather black folks be like, yo, it's none of our business, yo. We got to rebuild our communities. Our communities are disheveled. We're not built to make political decisions at this point. We're not intellectually at the point where we can make political decisions at this point. We're going to sit this one out. Y'all go do y'all elections and we just going to watch. That's not what we do. We picked a side, and we picked a side vehemently. It wasn't like we reluctantly picked a side. We picked a side like we're definitely not voting for Republicans. Da, 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 da. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. What else we got here in the chat? Hold on, it just skipped on me. Notice how when Trump was president, how the media made him extra orange with those camera filters. But now that he's not president, he's regular Caucasian color. They play a lot of games, yo. Kanye going in on banks? Yeah. Let's pull that up. Let's go ahead and pull that up. I wrote a book on it. I wrote a book on this. Oh, he must have deleted it now. He must have deleted it now because it's not there right now. But shout out to Ye. Shout out to Ye. Wait till I get next to Ye and start educating Ye. Nerd Nash, he said, you in one of your rare bags tonight. What up, nerd? Yeah, you know, if it's a late night stream, I'm going to have to go in, dog. Especially when we start talking about race. This is one of my touchy subjects is race. You get me start talking about race, man. It's just, it needs to be talked about, bro. It needs to be discussed. The majority of people are wholly misled. And they're only misled because they ain't read. The majority of people are misled and they wholly misled because they ain't read. Bars.
Hotep.
These are the facts. And then when a nigga who been reading start talking, now everybody confused. Now everybody mad. Ain't my fault I've been reading. Ain't my fault I'm up till 4 o'clock in the morning. Eyes shutting out, trying to work my way through chapters, trying to understand the world we live in, trying to understand how to get through to people, trying to uncover the belly of the beast. This is my life. You know, when people are up tweeting links to sell their shit, I'm fucking making myself better. I'm trying to understand our world so I can help people. When people are shilling their products online and doing this, that, and the third, and I'm not hating on that. Get your money, get your coins. But I don't focus on that. I don't focus on pushing my brand out there. And I think that's why a lot of big people like Gutfeld fuck with me, like Rogan and Alex Jones fuck with me, because they know I'm not really out here trying to push an agenda. I'm out here trying to help the world. I'm trying to help people. I'm trying to understand the world. I'm studying. I'm a student of life. And motherfuckers who ain't a student of life be trying to challenge me, be trying to question me. Now you can question me, I'm with that. You can challenge me, I'm with that. But you gotta allow us to have some discourse. You can't just pass judgment. I spoke to my brother Shaka Akmos for 4 hours today. I'm an honorary member of Nile Valley Movement. And one of his students, one of his biggest fans was like, yo, I don't know about that Hotep Jesus dude. I don't really fuck with him. And Shaka Akmos had to tell him like, yo, what? No, that's my dude. Shaka Akmos got to let him know. But Shaka Akmos is a well-studied individual. Shaka Akmos is my teacher. And if you hear some of the opinions, matter of fact, I'll tell you one opinion that he said earlier. Fuck my head up. You want to know what Shaka told me earlier? And I'm going to bring him on the channel so he can explain it. And I know he won't mind me sharing this. Go subscribe to his channel, Shaka Akmos. Fucking encyclopedia. The guy's an encyclopedia. We was talking about the word nigga. And you know what this man said to me? He said, I don't care if white people fucking use the word nigga. I said, oh shit. Now, if I said this shit, they'd have called me coon, sellout. This is Supreme Hotep #1. So I listened to him speak. He said, I don't care if white man. He said, if I was kicking it and I saw a white man, he came up to me and he said, yo, nigga, pass me the salt. He said, yo, here you go, dude. And pass him the salt. Act like nothing ever happened. He said, what he said was, people have tricked us into looking at things that are deficits and turning them into assets. So the word nigga has been turned into an asset through music. And they monetize the word nigga through music. Okay? And then turn around and say it's bad. So they took something that's really a deficit, something that's really supposed to be negative, and monetized it. And we think it's an asset. So black folks hold on to this asset with all our might. But really, we're holding on to something that we don't need to hold on to. We're holding on to something and identifying with the word and saying that this word nigga only defines us. Shaka like, no, anybody can be a nigga. Anybody can be a nigger. That shit ain't just for us. Use the word nigga. That's fine to me. It's just a word. It don't hold no power with Shaka. He said that word don't hold no power. And the only thing that gives it power is the reaction of black folks. This is what my master teacher is teaching me. And pseudo intellectuals are telling me wrong because, oh, this happened to us back in the day and they use this word and da da da. So when are you going to release those chains? When are you going to allow yourself to release that bondage, that relationship you have with the word nigga? What is your relationship with the word nigga? That's what we got to check. Our relationship with the word nigga. We could use it, but white people can't. Why? Why can't white people use it? Because that word got power over us. It's got power over our emotions. Yo, it's deep shit, man. This is deep shit. Anima, I don't know what, Manga fan. There's black people freaking out about the white privilege cards people were trolling with. Those cards are made by a black dude. All the black and white Karens are mad as hell. See what I'm saying? It's gaslighting. Yeah, that word is the new slave master. It's a trigger. Yup. Sacred smoke. I'm not reading that. That's funny though. Yeah, Shaka got me in my bag. I work with my older brothers, man. I pay my dues. I pay my respect. I grew up under, I watched Shaka Akmos through YouTube. I studied him through YouTube. So when I have the opportunity to study under him, I jumped at it. I spent 2 weeks with him recently. I went out there twice in the past 2 weeks. I went to New York City to study under Shaka Akmos. I spent all day with him, listening to him lecture, feeding my brain that original Hotep shit. Man, wait till you see some of this shit I'm about to tell y'all about the rainbow agenda in ancient Egypt, straight from Shaka Akmos studies. It's gonna fuck your head up. And what the black progressives say about us in relation to the LGBT agenda and how they say it was LGBT in the continent of Africa. Wait till I pull up some of these Harvard sources on your asses that Shaka done uncovered. Huh? So when I went on Joe Rogan, who did I shout out? I shouted out Dr. Kaba Kamene, John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima. Actually, I think I missed Van Sertima's name. But I shouted out Shaka. And he was grateful for that. Who gonna do that? Who gonna break into the mainstream and then look back and reach back for the people that helped you get there? That's what makes me special, because I'm always gonna reach back to the people that helped me get here. That's what makes me special, because I live for God. Huh? I live for righteousness. Huh? Give me my Dick Gregory bag. This is pure truth I'm giving you. So Shaka loves me, and I love Shaka Akmos. And when he calls upon me and he says, Hotep Jesus, I need something, I'm right there. It's big bro. It's big bro. I don't know Sabir Bey. I know of him. I know the name. I know his likeness. I've seen his face. I know I've watched his videos. I don't know him personally. I met Red Pill once. Sources, yes. You got to cite your sources. Absolutely, Eli. You got to cite your sources. I don't know who the angry man is. So, Katz was saying that Hotep Jesus was fake Hotep. That's what Katz was saying. All right. You can say that. You can say that all you want. That don't mean it's true. You could spread whatever you want about Hoteps on Google and all the slander articles you want to put out and all the fake videos you want to put out. Everybody know what the truth is. Shaka Akmos got the truth. Dr. Kaba Kabane got the truth. Say what you want. They still got the truth. You still gonna have to go back to them for the sources. You still gonna have to go back to them for the teachings. Worst thing we ever did was give black progressives the word melanin. And melanin doesn't even exist. How about that?
Hotep.
Y'all want me to tell y'all how melanin don't exist? Put one in the chat if you want me to show you how melanin don't exist. Matter of fact, type Hotep in the chat if you want me to show you how melanin don't exist. I'm in my bag tonight. Niggas gonna be mad at this one. We going straight chemistry tonight. Let's see. Let's pull this up. Can we see it? Aha. Okay, cool. So we got that one. And then I'm going to pull up this. I'm pulling up molecular structures. We not fucking around. We not dealing in pseudo intellect. We dealing with real scholarship here. Can I find this other one? I'm looking for. Here it is. Boom. Found it. I'm gonna show you how melanin don't exist right now. Y'all ready? Y'all niggas ready? Hold up. Not melatonin. All my black people in the audience right now was confused as fuck. Because they didn't taught you that word melanin. What did Dr. Sebi say about melanin? Melanin don't exist. It don't exist. Why? It's a marketing term. Melanin is a marketing term. It's just a made up word. It don't exist. There is no chemical called melanin. There is no chemical called melanin. And I'm going to show you right now. This for all my science folks. Hold on. Y'all can't see that yet. Hold on. Y'all not supposed to see that. That's some notes y'all not supposed to know about yet. I'll reveal those notes in just a second. Hold on. I can't show y'all that yet. I got so much research. Shaka put so much research on my desk. I don't share none of it. Nobody. Out of respect for Shaka. All right, let's go here. All my science people. Wait till I bring Tanai Ricks on and let him break this shit down, because he's the organic chemist. I'm not even no chemist. What does it say right here? On your screen right here, you're gonna see it says pheomelanin. That says pheomelanin. PHEOMELANIN. That's pheomelanin. Okay? They're gonna hate me for this one. On the right, you have eumelanin. You guys see that right there? You have eumelanin. Now, what's missing from this picture? Let me see if I can bring up. Oh man, they're not gonna show you the other part of the structure. Wait, is this it? Okay, found it. All right, I'm gonna have to connect two different diagrams because it's showing in one and missing in another. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm showing this is because over here where it says pheomelanin, that's white people. Okay. Over here where it says eumelanin, that's black people. Okay. Now, what you'll notice is what's missing from eumelanin. You guys notice? Can you see what's missing from eumelanin? Over here, we have oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen, carbon. And what does S stand for? Anybody know what S stands for? I'm going to give the chat a few moments. So we're going to put S, periodic elements, right? And we're going to put that on your screen so everybody know what the S stand for. Where is it? Where is it? We got to go fucking 9th grade science on your asses right here. Boom. Can y'all see that on your screen? What's that say? That says sulfur. That should say sulfur. Let's go back. The thing missing from eumelanin, you see you have nitrogen, hydrogen, oxygen, right? Is sulfur. Now, they don't show the carbon here, but there's carbon in eumelanin. So now let's type in melanin molecular structure and let's pull that up. Let's pull up what a melanin molecular structure looks like. And which one do we want? Actually, let me do it on Google because Google is much better than Brave. Brave sucks sometimes. Y'all don't really be studying people's work, man. Okay. Right here. In fact, this is an article right here called Melanin Myth. So somebody's already done the work and exposed this, the melanin myth. And this is what they don't want you to know about science. They don't want you to know about 666. Right? Melanin is, what does it say right here? Carbon. This is what you're going to find constant throughout melanin is carbon. And when you talk about 666, what we're talking about is the element carbon. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. This is the special element that we need to study. Carbon, the thing that gives all life. So right here he says melanin is carbon, right? Here's a molecular structure. You see the black stuff in the middle. That's carbon. These are carbon atoms. Ain't no such thing as melanin. What you're dealing with is carbon structures, carbon molecular structures. Melanin is a word used to divide people, to make black folks think they better than white folks or different from white folks. The only difference between the melanin of white folks, because people that say, oh, black folks got melanin. No, white folks got melanin too. It's called pheomelanin, and black folks are eumelanin dominant, using these marketing terms that they use. The difference between the eumelanin and pheomelanin is what? The element of sulfur is what's dominant in their molecular structure attached to carbon. And so if you're an anime fan, you know in Dragon Ball Z, when the aliens come here, I believe Frieza says, oh, these are carbon-based life forms. They all tell you that. The anime tell you the truth about what's going on here. You got to pay attention. This is carbon we talking about. We're all carbon-based beings. Correct. 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 This is what people not going to tell you. This is what people not going to tell you. Correct. The S stands for sulfur. D.R. Holmes said, Hotep J, your energy is motivation. Thank you. You mean to tell me the melanin injections I've been getting to fit in better at Hotep Con aren't working? I'm going to beat somebody's ass. Buffalo Soldier says Shaka Akmos comes from the trenches of the conscious community. His research game is impeccable. Yo, he's like one family member removed from the work of Diop. Diop. If you guys don't know who Diop is, oh man. Sheikh Anta Diop, one of the most educated niggas on this planet, or was. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you how connected he was. Let's let you know, since I'm in my bag, fuck it, we might as well keep going. As a student of Shaka Akmos, you had this guy right here. Diop studied under this family. Y'all getting the gems today. Y'all getting the gems today. You see right here, it says Marie Curie. They also call her Madame Curie. This is the Curie family. You're talking about scholarship. Now, the Curie family, as you see here, was dealing with science. Okay, so here you see Nobel Prizes, right? For much of the work they did as it dealt with science. I believe they even dealt with nuclear science. I think they discovered something with nuclear science. Shaka will be able to tell you better than me. But Diop studied under the Curie family out of France. Diop is one of the greatest scholars to ever exist as far as black folks is concerned, or white folks is concerned. Tremendous great research. And Shaka Akmos is one family member removed from him. So I'm telling you, you getting great information. Shaka Akmos was born in that consciousness. Civilization of barbarism. Bobby Novak, you know. He said you want to nominate melanin for the Grifties. Oh man. Oh yeah, that's a good anime. All right, I might check that out. Last night I was watching I watched Godfather the night before, and last night I watched Godfather 2. Amazing work. I don't want to watch part 3. It's called The Death of Michael Corleone, and I'm just like, I don't want to see Michael die. Michael been through enough. I gotta watch Michael die. I'm gonna have to wait. You said she died due to radiation poisoning? Okay. Yeah, she was all up in that science, man. He's a real scientist, man. Real scientist. I gotta watch 3? Don't tell me that. I don't want to watch Michael die, man. I can't watch Michael die, man. I'm gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to wait a few months. I'm gonna have to wait a few months before I watch part 3. And don't send me no spoilers, Chad. He said, "Ain't 3 based off real events?" Nigga, I thought part 1 and 2 was based off real events. Cause I studied. I can't say I study, but I watch a lot of Italian mafia documentaries and movies, and I felt like Godfather was retelling a whole lot of stories. A whole lot of stories. I mean, the whole Vegas thing, that was, who was it? Hold on, I'm gonna tell you right now. What's his name? Not Bugsy Siegel. Oh man. Who was the dude that was running the casinos out there? Meyer Lansky. Meyer Lansky is what's his name? The Connect in Florida. The Connect in Florida is Meyer Lansky. No, not Mo Green. Meyer Lansky is the Connect in Florida in Godfather 2. That's Meyer Lansky in real life. Like verbatim, same story, same everything. Crazy. So Godfather to me felt like a documentary. I thought it was a documentary. Roth. Yeah, Simon Roth. Thank you. Simon Roth. Simon Roth is Meyer Lansky. That's the same person. Same story. You know what I'm saying? Hyman Roth. Yes, that's his name. Hyman Roth. Thank you. That's the correct one. Hyman Roth. That's Meyer Lansky. Yep. That's Meyer Lansky. Go study Meyer Lansky's life and then go watch Godfather Part 2 and tell me that's not Hyman Roth. Tell me Hyman Roth's not Meyer Lansky. He said, I got to go watch 3. Man, I'm going to be reading tonight. I'm probably going to be up reading for the next few hours. What's funny is I'm all into, I never watched The Sopranos. Maybe like one episode. Never watched it. Don't know why. Well, I guess maybe because I like just watching the documentaries or whatever. Anyway, tonight's been a blast. How long did I stream? An hour and 43 minutes? I haven't done a long stream in mad long. This was like a movie tonight. I appreciate all of y'all for tuning in to the Hotep Jesus show. You guys have been a wonderful, wonderful audience. I know a lot of people say like the video and comment, and all that stuff's cool. But share it. Hit the share button. That's what I really want to see. Hit the share button. Get it out to people, because that's the thing that's going to really beat the algorithm. You want to beat the algorithm, hit the share button, and that'll beat the algorithm. You dig me? My name is...
That Hotep Jesus dude.
I love y'all, and have a good night.
Hotep.